And now we're gonna let our last keynote speaker, and which will wrap up also our amazing vendor conference. It's Zabine Van Ness. I'm admitting her inside. She's founder and director of the Unity Museum, virtual museums education, and Zabine is building like amazing global peace. So I'm happy to welcome her on stage, and just let us know if you hear us, and we will be ready to go.
Here I am.
Zabine, nice to see you.
Thank you. Well, you know, this is, I think the celebration of Decentraland is a topic that is so relevant for today that I was very fortunate back in when it all began, I guess, is when we had the good fortune when they were first putting together High Street and Main Street, so to speak, that we were able to bring the Unity Museum into the convention center. At the present time, we have an exhibit on sports, which is always relevant, and a key issue on women. So we really, truly enjoy our presence there. We're also part of DCLU with our Global Peace Studies program. So all around, I think these are really exciting times. Now, our Unity Museum has a station set up just for Decentraland in its Speakers Bureau's lounge. And so we have a documentary lounge and a dining lounge and a Speakers Bureau lounge, the museum, and a meditation room. So we're a little bit of, and then a conversation room. So in our Speakers Lounge, we have a Decentraland set up, because we feel that when, especially our young people, our youth, we're across from the University of Washington in Seattle. 72,000 students around the world. You know what I'm saying? And not only that, they just opened Light Rail right behind us, 12,000 visitors a day walking past. Yeah. So we really are in a, what we call a hotbed of curiosity in visitation, brick mortar. You know, nowadays, it's one thing to be in brick mortar, right? Okay, so people in the pandemic were a little bit shy and getting into the, what we call the real world. But thank God for virtual reality, such as Decentraland, because this is our time. I mean, we could just get out there and rock and roll, and you didn't have to leave your couch as long as you were dressed from the chest up. The rest could be your pajamas, and who cared? Right? So we won't call it pajama land, but you know what I'm saying. And then you can hide behind an avatar, and you can look real cute and adorable on top of it all. But really, I think it is clearly the future. So for our museum, it has been really been allowed us to sound and look and share that we are on the leading edge. We were already on the leading edge as a museum when you got mostly museums, dinosaurs and grandma's attic and, you know, things on bygone days. And here we are, a museum, unity of what? Social justice, so technology advancement. We're just putting together a whole exhibit on the advancement of technology. And what do you think is going to be the last exhibit? Decentraland. Because even though we started off in 1840, the telegram, what God has wrought around the world, then we got the, you know, then we got Alexander Graham Bell with a telephone, and then we got ourselves into radio and then television. Within days of that, we're on the moon, and the hidden figures, you know, get them up there and have them jump back in the water, all through technology, if you imagine that. But now we're in virtual reality. We are in a whole new era of global participation, of global engagement, of finding your global village that really belongs to everybody. And the Unity Museum has just jumped in there with both feet as soon as we saw the option and the possibility. So to me, to have a chance to share to our youth, shall I say, global youth especially, though we're trying to talk to our boomers and seniors and millennials and, intergenerational participants. But when we talk to our boomers, they're still catching up with I hate to say it, Wi-Fi and trying to get themselves out of emails is still like, what, And then they say, what, texting? Oh, my kids, I don't understand. Why do they have to? Can't they just call me? No, we're not in that world. We are now in a virtual world. And in order to shrink what I call the global borders of the world, really, Decentraland has just absolutely, I feel, been that village that is leading the global community into an idea and into practical everyday, whether it's commerce, whether it's education, such as we are, right? We are all about education, museums, and engaging with young people in their lives, or rock concerts, or walking around in the park, whatever your fancy is, you can be there. I'm already excited waiting for mini-me, meaning not some little avatar, but mini-me and voiceover. We live in Seattle. Hello, Microsoft. What do you think? Voice recognition engineers have been sitting in my living room. And so this whole thing of mini-me projection into a virtual world, I know it's around the corner. And I said to him, when you need practice focus group, we're there. We can bring you into the museum and you can practice on, because Zoom is the real me, right? Right now, you and me, mini-me, right? Here we are, the real us. But we also like to think that we can do this in virtual reality where, Noto shows up looking like Noto and Zabine looks like Zabine, right? And we don't really need that Zoom link in between. But on the other hand, we're getting we're moving there as fast as we can. Because I always share, I have a history train in our museum every 20 years, 1800 forward, right? And needless to say, we got Decentraland right in our mini train, because we're in an era of flying cars. We need a whole new traffic system up there, right? And the era of virtual reality, that means people are walking everywhere in the world. And yes, they're driving under the English Channel from France to England. They don't have to get on top of the water anymore. So we're in a whole new world, a whole new era. And I think Decentraland, from the Unity Museum perspective, or in our global peace studies environment, we really are about the solution. We need to engage our young people, not too much talk about, oh, look what I can do in my TikTok. Yeah, we're in TikTok, of course we are. And so how do we get them, however, to project solutions into that world, right? And how do we get them into, let's say, in our global peace studies at DCRU? So how do you get them to talk about, all right, so you're in Shanghai and you're in Johannesburg and you're down the Champs-Élysées in Paris and I'm in Seattle, right in the middle of Starbucks, Microsoft, Amazon. I mean, we're no low-tech schmoozers over here in Seattle. Let's just call it what it is. And thank you for allowing our Unity Museum, which is truly on the leading edge. As far as museum, how do I know? Not because I imagine that we are, but there is the museum organization is 125 years old. And they have global meetings by continent, not by cities. But 3 years ago, they were in Seattle. Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. The museum world made it to Seattle. So there you had the Smithsonian, the Divine Museum, Alexandria, the British Museum, you name it, they were there. And of course, the Unity Museum was there, right? And you have these hundreds of museum associate or directors really around the world in this gathering. And they said to me, and who might you, that it happened, I didn't know, but it happened to be the secretary of this 120-some-year-old organization. And she said, who might you be? And I told her that we were a Unity Museum. And she said, what do you do? I said, she said, I said, well, I tell you what we don't do. We don't have motor cars. We don't have fossils and bones. We don't have grandma's kitchen or whatever that we walk you through. Because what we do, we bring you into the future of our youth. Where will they be the solution of the future? And I think we just had began to talk about Decentraland. And she said, oh, you're like Liverpool. And I said, oh, what's Liverpool? And she said, well, they buy little shopping malls and then they put in their soccer violence, domestic violence. I said, no, the world's not only about violence. The world's about solutions and positive things and contributions and engaging in, I called it mini-me's, right? Engage it, really in the real world, but on a different platform. And to her, when I believe in the idea of boutique presentations of big ideas. That means you can be in a lot of places in small presences, right? So I invented the term boutique museum, all right? She said, boutique museum? I never heard of such a thing. What is that? I said, never underestimate the power of a startup or the power of a new idea. And she said, well, what is it? And I said to her, well, we're for social action. And then the next day, she said, what boutique museum? I never heard of that. She said, can I bring it back to the International Museum Association? I said, remember virtual reality. I said, this is not about some brick and mortar British museum in London. I've been to some of them, okay? I'm born in Germany, World War II Germany. If you think about Ukraine right now, that was my hometown. That was my hometown when I grew up, bombed out in shelters, no food, no clothes, and fears and bombs over my head. You want to talk about life experience?
How people feel inside when because right now we're just talking and it's kind of, we two talk, but all the people are listening.
We use what we got.
So
right? We use what we got.
Yeah, yes, we're trying our best. So our question is like, your this year portal, your Decentraland portal in your Unity Museum in Seattle, it made the first and only permanent such portal in the physical world. And what kind of traffic does it get? How is it trending? And what do you see is the future of development? So it's kind of a couple questions together.
That's a biggie, right? Okay. So
very big one.
So when especially our global students, when they come in, they say, oh, Decentraland. First of all, it's amazed to me. They say, what's that? Never heard of it. So right away, we explain to them, by not knowing, you don't know what you're missing. And this is really the number one star, right? So then what they do, we have it set up so they can take a walk, or what we call take a tour. And then we can bring them over to the convention center and look around and talk to them a little bit about DCLU, right? And what's going on there. And yeah, I do have a piece of property and I have an idea what I want to do with it. But Decentraland, as far as the students and the visitors, they're getting the conversation usually from that. If they're, let's say, 6, 7 or so in a group, or 10 or 20 even, they'll say, oh, I see. So, and I always then share it, bring it into a consultative status. A, you need to be there. And B, if so, don't be an onlooker, be a solution, engage, and bring an idea and see yourself within that. Yes, it has commercial value. And I want you to know, I have brought some people that purchase businesses in Decentraland because the kids talk that into it. So dad wants to retire, but he lives over there and he wants to move over here. And what's he going to do about his business? So they set him on Decentraland. He brought his business into Decentraland, right? So all of a sudden he doesn't have to live over there. He can live over here near the grandkids and still have a business. So this is the commercial value, right? And then on the other hand, somebody like me comes along and I'll say, yeah, well, what about education and group discussions? And so seeing that I'm a lot with students, they we'll talk about blockchain, or we talk about robotic solutions for the future, and 3D printing your food and your clothes and your house and your transportation, and Decentraland can be your pool of global networking, right? Where you should be. So we're kind of pulling together today and tomorrow into a vision that's very current.
Yeah.
Does that sort of answer it in a way? How do we use it? Where is it? How do we then go into a group consultation? Because we have a real pretty welcome lounge. And so they'll sit around the fireplace with hot chocolate and they talk about Decentraland. I mean, I just believe in romance, and we definitely have that at the Unity Museum. And everything's free. We don't charge anybody anything because the starving students, are you kidding? They can't afford to go anywhere. Why do you think they hang out with us?
I can't wait to see this portal. Like in spring, I will be in US, and I really want to see it. Like, you are explaining so well, like you want to go and visit it. So yeah, thanks a lot for amazing energy, and we needed this positive energy at the end of the conference. We had like 2 full days. Can you imagine? Like 5 hours a day, lots of amazing speakers, lots of. So yeah, it was great, and we needed your amazing closing part to give us full of energy to go back.
Passion, enthusiasm, empathy, and what I call the global group hug.
Global group hug. That's amazing. Let Carl Fravel also inside the Zoom.
Oh, that would be nice. Yeah, we love Carl.
Wants to say words to us. So Carl, if you are here, just let us know.
He's there. He's just not in. He's not on camera yet.
Just hiding. Okay.
Carl is a
I just friend. Needed to turn off the
hey, Carl.
Nice
hey, thank you for letting me bring my enthusiasm and passion to the screen.
Certainly. And thank you so much for saying yes to being a speaker on quite short notice, but I knew that you'd have a lot to say, so thank you. Zabine and I are working together on an installation that's going to go up in the University District, the School of Global Peace Studies. So we're working on that.
Yeah, we are really, this is really a rock and roll project because it's right up the alley of that 20, 30, 40-year-old. And we're actually inventing an online game that we hope to bring out in time for this. Kyle, they want $250,000 to just develop this thing. And I'm going, oh my God, I'm just dying. But the truth of the matter is, it's just money. Ultimately, we have to find a way to bring the youth into that hands-on. I can be the solution. And if I'm living in Poland and he's living in France and I'm in Tahiti and you're in Indonesia,
I think you and I need to talk about maybe finding a different team before we commit that kind of money. I think there's teams in Decentraland that could build it and would probably have better experience in how to do it in Decentraland. So let's revisit that. I
don't even mean to bring it up. I'm just telling you that Global Peace Studies, I think we're really on it. We're there. We just need to translate it.
What I like about the game concept is that it will introduce young people to the idea of what it takes to negotiate international solutions to conflict.
That's right. Conflict resolution. If it were that easy, they would have done it by now. Right. But it's clear and obvious. When I switch on my news, we haven't gotten there. And I think it's because we leave it to an elite that is still maybe looking at old modes, and whereas the young people,
narrow interests.
I'm not saying they're cutting their hair or they're doing this or they're marching or they're doing that, but the truth of the matter is we don't really know the domino. And I think that Decentraland will have a great place in bringing out those solutions that bring about a peaceful domino. Isn't that exciting?
Yes,
I mean, we should be so proud. We look now, I'm starting to take credit for all your work.
Oh, so nice. Like DJ Trax is writing that he has 10-year-old son involved in the metaverse and he loves it. So I think like younger generations are feeling natively into this technology and metaverses.
Totally.
And they are growing with it, right? If we start with Roblox and other like centralized platforms they playing with, they are growing up with playing in the metaverse, spending most of the time in there. And it will be very natural movement from them to have this kind of mixed time spending in real life, in metaverse, etc. So yeah, it's coming for sure. Like it's inevitable.
Yeah, I mean, 10, 15, and 21. It should be mandatory. It should be mandatory to become a member in Decentraland, because, or at least at the at the educational level, because they need to make this their home, their opportunities, because then when they study and go to university, they need to be able to apply what is available to them already right now. And Decentraland can be absolutely that launching pad, that springboard into the pool.
Yeah. So I think like we are gonna like slowly wrap up the conference. It's getting very late where I'm at this moment, and also like I'm happy that one of our friends and projects from Australia woke up and joined us today on Zabine's speech. We managed to get to Australia, Carl, finally.
Yes, good. And Zabine, you might not know, but Anoto is in Georgia. And I don't mean the state of Georgia. I mean the country, Georgia.
Yeah, the country of Georgia, yeah.
Yes.
We're in Russia quite regularly. In fact, I just got about 2 hours ago out of Russia, out of Congo, out of France, and Greece. I mean, we're in a global community today, right? But we need to figure out, because everybody has their own little thing, we need to offer them the solutions such as Decentraland, where in that convention and those meeting gatherings, that they don't have to go itty bitty here and itty bitty there, right? Where we can decentralize it. Should I say decentralize, make the heart pattern so that your body flutters? You know what I mean?
So Zabine, we need to let Noto get some sleep because it's very late there.
Oh so sorry.
There are real world considerations for bodies. So yes, thank you, Zabine, so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be part of this.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. And thanks, Carl, again for putting this up together. It was amazing, like 2 days. We're gonna have the recordings and everything ready in upcoming days, and everybody can share in their social medias. We need to people know that we had this amazing conference, and I so much enjoyed it. I can't wait to have the another one. Me and Carl are talking about to make it yearly, and in between we're gonna have some interesting ones coming up. So we're gonna brainstorm all that. And
brainstorming, yeah.
Brainstorming is amazing thing always. So that's what
my favorite. That's why we call it the Unity Museum, Unity of Ideas. Yeah.
Okay, so let's quickly wrap up. And my Zoom, I'm gonna quickly disable it. And thanks everybody for joining in, listening in, spending some time with us these 2 days. And thank you, Zabine, Carl, and have a nice days, have a nice night, whoever is going to sleep. And happy week.
All right. Thank you too. Nice seeing everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.